Dark watches from the sidelines, looking completely stunned at the scene in front of him. The air is filled with the sound of constant impacts as he stares on in disbelief. Hardcore leveling warrior is right in the thick of it, absolutely shredding through a massive zombie horde. Sora isn't just standing around either, slicing through 3 of them with a single fluid swing. The kill count keeps ticking up in the air, 98, 99, and there's 100. Ethan finishes the last one off without even breaking a sweat. The remaining zombie spirits just evaporate into thin air, leaving the room empty. Suddenly, it's dead quiet. The floor is covered in nothing but the remains of the undead. One zombie summoner is left shaking like a leaf, begging the warriors for mercy. Ethan gives the creature an absolutely terrifying grin and agrees not to kill her. Back in the real world, Ethan's got that same shady smile while he toys with a little devil keychain. Somewhere else, a messenger notification pops up for a man looking out a high-rise window. It's the cyborg assassin reporting in, admitting the target is still very much alive. Manager Jang Kim is losing his patience, asking why a professional like him hasn't finished the job yet. The assassin is actually hiding out near some zombies, looking extremely hesitant to move. He's sweating buckets and gulping hard, clearly out of his element. Turns out the best assassin in the world is secretly terrified of the undead. Talk about a bad matchup. But a direct order comes in from his boss, so he has to suck it up and get moving. Back in the dungeon, the group continues their climb through the dark, skull-lined walls. Dark is struggling to keep up, wondering what kind of insane quest he's actually paying for. Hardcore leveling warrior just calls him a kid, which really seems to get under his skin. He stops and asks the boy if he even realizes how rare combat classes are in this game. He explains that 70% of players end up as farmers or merchants, then asks Sora about her quest. She casually mentions having to slaughter 1,000 werewolves over the course of 2 months. The former rank 1 player just scoffs, claiming he's the only one who truly mastered his specific class. They reach the end of the hall, and Ethan reaches for the handle of a massive red door. He swings it open, announcing the official start of the second part of the trial. Inside, they're greeted by a massive pair of green legs and a looming presence. Up on the giant's shoulder, Zomzi complains about how fast all the other players died. The quest window updates. The next step is to take down Bagorba. The giant monster lets out a massive roar, stinking smoke billowing from its nostrils. The little summoner gets excited, ready for some fun with her new victims. Bagorba doesn't waste any time, unleashing a massive blast of fire right at the group. Sora is on it immediately, reaching for her blade to defend them. The blast rips through the air, barely missing as they scramble in different directions. Ethan and Sora dive out of the way just as the flames wash over the room. They hit the tiled floor and immediately bounce back up, ready for a counterattack. Ethan calls out to Dark, telling him to get ready to do something useful. He tosses a small dagger over to Dark, who barely manages to catch the weapon. The boy looks at the tiny thing in his hand, wondering what he's supposed to do against a giant. Before he can complain, Bagorba swings a massive arm down, and Ethan screams at him to watch out. Sora jumps in and takes the hit, blocking the massive fist with her sword. Zomzi claps her hands with a wicked laugh, thinking she's already won. Sora is instantly hit by a petrification curse, her body turning to solid stone right where she stands. Ethan grits his teeth, realizing things just got a whole lot more complicated without their main physical attacker. He tells Dark to keep dodging and look for any opening while they scramble for a new plan. Even as they retreat, Ethan notices Bagorba is surprisingly slow for a boss of this caliber. He realizes he can still use a certain strategy thanks to the temporary stats he got earlier. He draws a crude-looking weapon from his inventory, searching for something decent to use. It's just a cracked longsword with pathetic stats, which has Dark seriously doubting his choice of hire. Dark is screaming at him to actually do something instead of just running like a coward. Zomzi looks on, disappointed that the heroes are just fleeing for their lives. She casts another spell, sending a surge of dark energy straight into her giant minion. Bagorba lets out a deafening roar as he powers up, ready to end the chase. The two of them argue back and forth as they dash across the chamber floor. The giant monster's arm stretches out like rubber, reaching for them across the room. Ethan ignores Dark's insults, focused entirely on the massive fist descending toward them. The giant's limb continues to elongate, leaving the warriors with almost no room to hide. A massive impact shakes the entire dungeon as Bagorba's fist slams into the ground. Ethan is thrown to the floor, coughing in the cloud of dust and debris. Dark watches in horror as blood splatters across the tiles from a direct hit. The boy realizes that Ethan actually took the brunt of the attack to protect him. Ethan just grins through the pain, reminding Dark that he can't let his payday die. Zomzi is bored by the lack of resistance and orders her pet to finally finish them off. The massive green beast winds up for one final devastating punch. Ethan whispers to the kid that this is their one and only shot to turn things around. He flashes another sinister grin, telling Dark to go get him. Suddenly, the boss starts to tremble as its limbs are sliced clean off in an instant. The giant's legs are severed before it can even react to what's happening. Zomzi is completely blindsided, unable to believe Sora is already free from the curse. Bogorba collapses under his own weight, a massive cloud of dust rising as he falls. Dark leaps into the air with his tiny blade, aiming straight for the vulnerable boss. The boy delivers a precise, finishing blow right between the giant's eyes. The massive creature sparks with static energy and slumps over, defeated for good. Zomzi is furious, her mask hiding her rage as she screams at the damn kid. A sudden whack echoes through the chamber as someone intervenes. Sora is already in midair, having broken free to protect her teammate. She delivers a powerful kick that sends the summoner flying across the room and into a wall. A quest notification pops up. The second test is officially completed. Ethan is still on the ground, calling out for some healing now that the danger is over. Dark pops the cork on a health potion, looking annoyed but relieved. He casually pours the green liquid over Ethan's wounds while Sora watches on. They look over at the village ruins, making sure their prisoner is still alive. Zomzi is tied up in purple with frustration, unable to believe she lost to this ragtag group. Ethan leans in with a smug look, explaining that he interrogated the first boss to learn about the petrification curse. Zomzi is livid, realizing her boss betrayed her secrets for just a few drops of holy water. She starts to panic as Ethan pulls something out from his inventory, her eyes wide with confusion and fear. The captive summoner bursts into uncontrollable laughter as Ethan reveals her greatest weakness. She's incredibly ticklish. Using a large feather, Ethan mercilessly tickles Zomzi, who is tied up and completely unable to defend herself. Ethan grins like a villain, demanding all the information she has on the requirements for the third test. Sora and Dark watch from a distance, sweat dropping at Ethan's unconventional and somewhat cruel interrogation methods. The scene shifts to a different location, where a massive, muscular man sits defeated and slumped over on the cold floor. Heart Heater, the sleek and dangerous moneylender, wears a predatory grin while adjusting his glasses. He sits calmly at a table in a room filled with the broken bodies of his enemies, seemingly unbothered by the violence. Looking directly at the person across from him, he demands an apology for being put in such a bothersome situation. Kusium, the black marketeer cat, walks in with a thud and tells Heart Heater to stop wasting energy and focus on business. Far away, the lights of Cobalt Castle twinkle. Under the night sky, nestled peacefully in a dark valley. A man with blue hair and goggles, known as Sad Smile, the Lord of Cobalt Castle, approaches with a casual greeting. Sad Smile lets out a creepy, wide-eyed grin, offering an apology that feels anything but sincere. Heart Heater remains unimpressed, cutting straight to the business and asking if the other party has the item ready. Kusiam presents a small, ornate wooden chest, looking serious as the high-stakes trade begins. The lid of the chest is slowly opened, revealing a dark and powerful artifact hidden inside. Resting on a red cushion is a black, jagged blade, a cursed weapon that emits a palpable and sinister aura. Sad Smile identifies it as the 38th sword crafted by the master blacksmith, one of only 39 in existence. As he reaches out and grabs the hilt, a massive surge of dark energy erupts, startling even the veteran Kusiam. Despite the overwhelming curse flowing into him, Sad Smile grins wider, confident that he can wield this power. Kusiam watches with a bead of sweat, wondering if this human has any idea of the ancient danger he's inviting. A pillar of dark smoke rises into the night sky, a sign of the ominous power that has just been unleashed in the castle. Back in the dungeon, Ethan looks thoughtful, likely planning his next move with the information he gained. Sora proudly displays her new loot, Medusa's Gauntlet, which has a chance to turn any enemy it touches to stone. Ethan continues to rummage through the boss chest while the tied-up Zomzi groans in the background. He pulls out Bogor's pants, but even Sora looks disappointed by the subpar stats of the giant's only clothing. Sora takes a sniff of the loot and immediately recoils in disgust. The giant's pants apparently smell as bad as they look. She quickly shows off her own high-tier gear, the Black Dragon's iron panties, which boast an insane armor rating of 230. Dark glares at Ethan, finding the whole gear discussion ridiculous, but Ethan just shrugs it off as part of the RPG experience. They begin climbing a long, stone spiral staircase that leads deep into the upper levels of the dungeon tower. As they walk, Ethan explains that the strength of archfiends can be judged by the size and complexity of their horns. He looks ahead with a rare moment of seriousness, wondering what kind of monster awaits them in the third and final test. Dark looks up at the massive double doors ahead, feeling a growing sense of dread as they approach the end. Ethan warns Dark that the next fight will be much harder and that he won't be able to bail him out if he freezes up again. Dark steels himself, his expression serious as he prepares to face whatever is behind those doors. The heavy doors groan as they open, revealing a bright light and a strange silence in the chamber beyond. The trio stops dead in their tracks, their eyes wide with shock at the unexpected sight before them. A purple-clad figure, presumably the summoner for this test, lies face down and broken on the floor. Sora and Dark realize with horror that someone else has already entered the room and defeated the host. Standing over the fallen summoner is a towering, gray-skinned warrior with long black hair, his back turned to the new arrivals. The mysterious gray-skinned warrior looks directly at the group, casually mentioning that he killed the summoner simply because he got bored. He scratches the back of his neck, complaining that the summoner's constant rambling about the rules of dark magic was getting on his nerves. Ethan stares at the massive figure in silence, a cold sweat running down his face as he senses the overwhelming pressure emanating from him. Behind the warrior, the broken body of the purple-robed summoner remains wedged into the floor, a testament to the giant's casual brutality. With a predatory glint in his red eyes, the warrior asks the intruders if they are the humans he's supposed to deal with for this test. Without warning, he launches a blindingly fast strike at Ethan, who barely has time to react to the sudden explosive force. A thunderous explosion rocks the entire room as the warrior's blow connects, sending a massive shockwave across the stone floor. Sora bravely leaps into the fray, her heavy sword raised as she vows to tank the monster's hits to protect the rest of the group. The warrior is pleasantly surprised by Sora's boldness, his grin widening as he acknowledges the strength behind her resolve. A glowing purple Ego Quest window appears behind him, revealing that he intends to use the group as offerings for his own dark goals. As Ethan warns the group to be careful, Dark works quickly to apply a flurry of colorful buffs to Sora's armor and weapons. The warrior watches the preparations with an amused expression, seemingly confident that no amount of magic can bridge the power gap. He makes a sharp, dismissive gesture with his hand, as if swatting away an annoying insect that dares to buzz around him. Dark prepares a vial of holy water to aid them, much to Ethan's disgust, as he still maintains his hatred for the disgusting liquid. With the buffs finally complete, Sora's eyes burn with determination as she prepares to launch her counterattack against the giant. The warrior lashes out again with a heavy downward strike, his movements almost too fast for the naked eye to follow. He lets out a short, surprised sound as Sora manages to successfully dodge his initial flurry of rapid-fire attacks. Impressed by her speed and fighting spirit, the Archfiend admits that he's starting to genuinely enjoy the challenge. He slams his fist into the floor with incredible force, creating a massive crater and sending debris flying in every direction. He rates Sora's impressive display of spirit a mere 50 out of 100, showing how much more power he still has in reserve. Sora is stunned for a moment as her heavy blade is caught mid-swing, unable to push through the warrior's immovable defense. The warrior easily holds the massive flat of her sword with a single hand, mocking her for trying such a predictable headshot. With a casual push of his palm, he releases a burst of pure force that sends Sora skidding backward across the tiled floor. Undeterred, Sora uses the momentum to spin her body, readying herself for another strike as the fierce battle continues. Sora goes for a high kick, letting her sword drop as she moves in close. Dark is confused why she's suddenly fighting bare-handed instead of using her blade. Bagorba is completely unimpressed by the change in tactics. He thinks she's made a pathetic mistake and gives her decision a big fat 0. Sora charges in, but the massive monster thinks he's already won. She slips right past his reach, moving with surprising speed for her level. That's when she triggers the special effect of the Medusa Gauntlet. Stony snakes erupt from her arm, wrapping around Begorba to petrify him on the spot. The stone curse starts spreading across his body, locking him in place. Sora tells Ethan to land the finishing blow while the big guy is frozen. Ethan Gong winds up, putting everything he's got into a single fist. He lands a massive critical hit that sends shockwaves through the room. But Begorba just stands there, looking more annoyed than hurt. Ethan starts sweating. The petrification curse didn't even work on this guy. He begins to wonder if there's any way to actually beat a monster this strong. He remembers a story about a legendary woman who once hunted the most powerful archfiends. She stood surrounded by her blades in the ruins of a battlefield. One archfiend was so thoroughly beaten that he admitted defeat right then and there. He begged her to just kill him and end it with some dignity. She didn't care about his life, though. She was after something else. She told him his horns were far more valuable than his head. She reached out and snapped one right off, leaving him in shock. The archfiend was humiliated, screaming for her to finish him off. He lunged for one last desperate attack, but she didn't even move. In the blink of an eye, her blades shredded through his defense. A flurry of stabs left him pinned against the rubble, unable to fight back. She decided she might as well take the other horn while she was at it. The legendary warrior left him broken, a shadow of his former self. The archfiend looked up with blood running down his face, completely defeated. Her silhouette remained etched in the history of the world's greatest hunts. She was the standard that every player dreamed of reaching one day. Back in the present, Begorba's eyes glow with a lethal red. Light. He tells them to give up and die already. Dark watches, frozen as the boss monster starts to power up for a final strike. Begorba lunges forward, his massive frame moving like a blur. Ethan reaches for the weird scallion item he picked up earlier. The monster's fist is inches away from caving in Ethan's skull. Ethan doesn't even flinch, staring the monster down with calm eyes. A bright light flashes as the scallion's hidden power suddenly activates. A tiny cute jelly thing appears out of nowhere and blocks the giant fist. It makes a ridiculous squeaky sound while doing the impossible, completely neutralizing the attack. Ethan just looks exhausted, clearly over how weird this game can get. The tiny jelly village souvenir is the most adorable shield you've ever seen. A massive fist connects, but it doesn't leave a single scratch. Begorba is livid that his deadly punch was stopped by something so cute. Dark and Ethan back off, while the monster has a total meltdown. Dark realizes he's out of options and really needs a better weapon. Begorba powers up again, calling them trash as he prepares another attack. Dark decides it's time to use his trump card, the Goblin King's Pendant. A massive explosion of blue energy erupts from the pendant. The energy surges forward, catching Begorba off guard. The contract is complete, and a golden aura surrounds Dark. Begorba is stunned that his attack was deflected so easily. He starts laughing, finding the whole situation absolutely hilarious. Heart Heater warns them that the pendant is a one-time use item. Dark nods, knowing he has to make this count. The golden energy continues to flare up around him. A massive explosion rocks the dungeon as the power is released. Dark and Begorba clash in a blinding light of energy. Ethan is amazed that Dark actually had a legendary item like that. He figures Dark's family must be unbelievably rich to afford something that rare. The shockwave from the clash sends everything flying. Begorba is sent reeling back from the force of the blast. Dark calls him out for being sloppy as the smoke starts to clear. The golden aura makes Dark feel completely unstoppable. He's finally getting a taste of what it feels like to be truly powerful. A massive thud echoes through the room as someone hits the floor. Begorba stands his ground, looking ready for one more round. Dark lands a solid punch right in the monster's face. The impact is so strong, it sends Begorba flying into the wall. Dark realizes that was actually the first time he's ever punched anyone. Begorba admits that the hit didn't feel very good at all. The monster grinds his teeth, clearly getting more frustrated by the second. He calls Dark's movement sloppy and obvious as he gets back up. He tells Dark to go ahead and try to attack again. Begorba finally admits that the kid can actually put up a decent fight. Dark is relieved the item worked, but he knows he only has one more shot. The Goblin King's pendant starts glowing brighter as the timer counts down. Begorba launches himself at Dark with incredible speed. Dark's eyes widen as he realizes he might not be fast enough to dodge. The Goblin King's face on the pendant seems to be laughing at the chaos. A massive explosion of blue light fills the panel as they collide. Dark is caught in the blast, unable to move out of the way in time. The golden energy starts to fade as the pendant's power finally runs out. Dark stares wide-eyed as Bagorba's massive stone-like finger looms inches from his face. The hulking green monster reaches down to crush the small boy, but Ethan Gong stands ready with his back to them. Ethan Gong intercepts the attack, his glowing yellow blade crackling with blue electricity as he easily parries the monster. With a confident smirk, Ethan Gong brandishes the massive luminous weapon he calls the legendary Divine Sword. Dark watches intently, sweat and blood on his face as he notes the monster's movements are surprisingly slow. Ethan Gong's sword vibrates with power, though he admits it's a bit of a disappointment compared to other divine blades. Giving the kid a brief nod of approval, Ethan Gong prepares to finish the fight with the crackling sword. Bagorba roars in frustration, his massive form trembling as he struggles against the overwhelming pressure. Refusing to back down, the monster gathers a ball of blue dark magic in his hand, preparing a final strike. "I won't lose!" Bagorba bellows, hurling the sphere of energy at the two warriors. The ball of blue magic streaks across the room with a violent whistle, illuminating the entire dungeon. A massive pillar of blue flames erupts as the third-degree dark magic, Hellsing, consumes everything in its path. Bagorba hunches over, panting heavily as he waits for the smoke to clear and reveal his defeated foes. His face is twisted in a mix of exhaustion and hope, believing he has finally turned the tide. His triumph is short-lived as he realizes the targets have completely vanished from his sight. Turning with a snarl, Bagorba tries to track his opponents, confident he can still find them. He looks up in sudden shock, his red eyes wide as a brilliant light descends from above. Ethan Gong dives from the air like a golden comet, his divine sword raised for a devastating blow. The warrior effortlessly dodges Bagorba's desperate counterattack, explaining that the sword grants him angelic stats. Bagorba can only stare in mute horror as the blinding light of the divine sword closes in. The force of the impact hits the monster square in the jaw, shattering his resolve and his defense. A colossal explosion of golden energy tears through the stone floor, ending the battle in a single flash. Supporter Lime, the translucent green slime woman, watches the scene with a calm, amber-eyed gaze. Standing over the smoking remains of his enemy, Ethan Gong exhales a sigh of relief as the quest clear notification appears. The intense power of the final strike was too much for the weapon, leaving Ethan Gong with only a broken hilt. The blade itself remains embedded in the cracked earth, its golden glow slowly fading into gray stone. Ethan Gong explains that the powerful artifact, Kubaba's divine sword, will be sealed for the next 99 years. A holographic quest complete window floats in the air, offering the rewards for their hard-won victory. Dark is bathed in leveling up light, reaching level 28 and officially changing his class. "I'm a dark magician now," he announces, showing off his new skull-emblazoned gear. He is puzzled to find a glowing golden ring has appeared on his finger, humming with a strange energy. Blue hexagonal patterns flow from the ring, drawing the essence of the fallen Bagorba into itself. Inside the red gem of the ring, a miniature captured version of Bagorba roars in silent rage. Ethan Gong points out the Summoner's Ring, impressed that Dark has already secured such a powerful servant spirit. Dark contemplates his new skills, wondering if he should prioritize summoning or curses first. Far away from the dungeon, a massive ancient tower stands solitary in a desolate, rocky landscape. A red digital reticle locks onto the structure, signaling that a target has been acquired. The Grade A assassin, a sleek gray cyborg with glowing red eyes, streaks through the sky toward the tower. With cold mechanical precision, the assassin activates its orange energy blades and prepares to annihilate the target. Floating amidst a cloud of pixels and energy, the cyborg considers if it might have gone overboard with its power. The once mighty tower is reduced to a mountain of rubble as the assassin declares the mission complete. Beneath the heavy stones, a faint green glow suggests that something or someone has survived the devastation. Walking through the smoking ruins of the tower, the Grade A assassin lets out a cold, mechanical whistle. Confident in his destructive work, the cyborg marches forward, intent on finding and finishing his targets. The assassin stops before a pile of debris where a blood-stained hand protrudes, mockingly commenting on the target's fate. Using a mechanical claw, he lifts the heavy stone only to find a decoy instead of his intended prey. Without warning, a sharp blade of translucent green energy slices through the air toward the surprised assassin. His electronic red eyes widen as he barely has time to register the unexpected counterattack. Supporter Lime, a tall woman made entirely of flowing green slime, gracefully enters the battlefield and commands the intruder to retreat. A violent burst of green energy erupts, shaking the ground and sending a shockwave through the ruins. Revealing herself as a level 100 protector, Supporter Lime shields Ethan and his companions, declaring them the guests of King Yopi. Unimpressed by the slime woman's status, the assassin ignites his orange energy blades, dismissing her authority entirely. The cyborg launches a series of explosive shells from his back, determined to reclaim his targets at any cost. A massive wall of fire and smoke rises behind the assassin as he continues his relentless assault on the slime protector. Despite his firepower, the assassin is suddenly thrown back, his mechanical armor sparking from a direct hit. Supporter Lime moves with lethal fluid grace, her slime blades finding every vulnerability in the cyborg's metallic frame. Standing firm in front of her shimmering green barrier, the slime woman repeats her final warning to the persistent attacker. Safe within the protective sphere, Ethan, Dark, and Sora catch their breath, bewildered by the identity of their sudden savior. Observing the incredible power of the green woman, Ethan Gong realizes she must serve a truly formidable master. Enraged by the defiance of a mere slime, the assassin discards his ranged weapons and charges in for a close-quarters kill. He lunges with all his mechanical might, the force of his movement tearing through the air as he strikes at the green woman. A sadistic grin twists the assassin's face as he mocks Supporter Lime's perceived weakness during his charge. To his shock, his strike is effortlessly absorbed by the green woman's liquid body, sending him rebounding back with a dull thud. Before he can recover, Supporter Lime flows over him like a suffocating wave, her translucent body beginning to crush his internal components. Sparks fly, and mechanical systems fail as the cyborg is slowly consumed by the relentless pressure of the green slime. The battlefield is finally silenced by a massive golden explosion as the Grade A assassin is completely obliterated. Supporter Lime stands there completely unfazed after turning that Giga assassin into a pile of scrap metal. Dark and the others are just frozen, trying to wrap their heads around the fact that a level 100 NPC just saved their lives. She gives them a gentle, polite smile, looking way too sweet for someone who just finished a murder.